Okay, welcome everyone. As we are sponsored by the Fisher family, Lili Nishmas Basi Bas Rabit, Shlomo ben Avram Alevi, Peril Bas Ruvain, Neshama should have a lichtige Gan Eden. We're also sponsored Lili Nishmas David ben Chaim, the Refuah Shalema for Yomis ben Chayesara, Yaakov ben Bas Yeleah, and for the Schus of Avram ben Yom Beish ben Malki Hudison family. Sponsored by Yoel Klugman and family for the Parnasa Gzunta and Nachas. We're sponsored by Refuah Shalema for Moshe Meir ben Esther Fadel, Avigdor Aya ben Rivka, Hinda bas Chayesara, Yitzchak ben Tzia ben Dusha, Rivka bas Shira Leah, Chana bas Shashabina, Dvar bas Shashabina, Aaron ben Sarah, Nachman Yaakov ben Sarah, Rachel Leah bas Rivka, and Meir ben Chayesara. They should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shachar Yisrael. So the Mishnah ends off this parak by saying, B'moitzi shemra, in the case where a husband maligns his new wife and says that he didn't find her a virgin and he was lying, he has to pay a knas of 100 shkalim. L'hakel u'lahachmer. There's leniency and stringency. Ketzad, echad shoitzi shemra al g'dola shebekuna, if he maligned the daughter of the Kohen Gadol, so that's real defamation. It should be much more than 100 shkalim, so it's a leniency. Or Val Ketana shall be Yisrael, the most humblest girl from a lowly family in Klal Yisrael, where it should be less than 100 shkalim. Either way, it's a fixed sum, like all knossos, nice and meya shekel. He gives 100 shekel. And now the parak ends off with a very powerful Musar observation. For the action of rape, there's a penalty of 50 shkalim. But for the action of the mouth, there's a penalty of 100 shkalim. Nimtza ha'omer b'fiv, that which is done with the mouth, yeser min ha'oisa ma'isa, is even more than an action. Shekein motzinu sheloi nechtam gzar din alav yiseinu v'midbar. Our ancestors' fate wasn't sealed that they should die in the desert. Ela l'shoin hara, on the lashon hara they spoke about Eretz Yisrael. Shenema v'yanasu oisi ze'eser pa'amim, you tested me 10 times, v'lo yishamu b'kaili, and you didn't listen to my voice. Now it's very important that we realize the premium that the Torah puts on the ruination of bad-mouthing people. It's a curse in the Torah. Orur makareyeyu basasa. Cursed is somebody who hits his friend in private. It's a curse. In Yerushalmi Peyed is an astounding comment. The worst 3 sins are avodah zarah, gilui arayos, and shvichas damim. Idolatry, immorality, and bloodshed. But then it says, v'loshin hara keneged kulam. The ruination of the mouth. The mouth is the organ of the soul. As it says, l'nefesh chaya, Hashem made a person, the nefesh chaya, and the Targum says l'ruach mamalala, a spirit that speaks. This should give us really pause to think that we should never talk badly about someone. It's not kedai to talk about people. They say that small people talk about people, average people talk about things, big people talk about ideals. Now, unbelievable, we're already in the 4th parak of Arachin. Unbelievable. That's what happens when you learn every day. This has been a very cosmopolitan Masechta. It spoke about a lot of different things. And now we're getting back to Arachin. Now we know that there is a curve on paying the Arachin. If somebody can't afford the full amount, the sages give a curve. But Hesig Yod, the question of whether you could afford it, Banoider, applies to the one that makes the pledge. So if Yisrael make a pledge to give the value of Yitz, so it depends on Yisrael's ability. Vashanim, now we said that Arachin is a fixed amount. Till 20 it's a certain amount, 20 shekel. 20 to 60 is 50 shekel, over 60 is 15 shekalim. Vashanim, the years, that's banida. It doesn't depend on how old Yisrael is, who's making the neder. It depends on the one he's making about, how old Yitzi is. Now also there's a difference in gender. If it's a male, it's one thing. If it's a female, it's someone else. V'harachim, and the gender is banera, depends on who he's saying it about. So if Yisrael is saying it about a man, so it gets the arachin of a man. If he's saying it about the woman, it gets it woman. It doesn't depend whether Yisrael is a man or a woman. And finally, va'erech, let's say Yisrael says, I pledge my erech. So let's say Yisrael at the time was 19. But when it comes to pay, he was already 20. 19, he only pays 20 shkalim. At 20, he pays 50 shkalim. But erech bizman ha'erech, it goes when he made the pledge. So now the Mishna explains the first thing that it says. Hesig yad banoidim. The question of how much you could afford depends on the one that's making the neder. Ketzad. Oni she'erech es asher. A poor man that pledges the erech of an asher, noisin erech ani. We say he has to give only what he could afford. But v'asher she'erech es ani, an asher that gives a pledge of an ani, no, he has to give noisin erech asher. So if he said an ani that's 20 to 60, he has to give the full $50, because the question of affordability is dependent upon the one that makes the pledge. We really want to thank you for joining us again. For those that are maybe joining us now just for the Mishnayos, we will be starting Menachos Tuesday evening. We hope you could join us, and we will be having a siyum here in Staten Island, in Lakewood, at Two Valley Stream, in Fairways, in my base of Medrash, at 6:30. Everyone is invited. And finally, let me mention that we are looking for a sponsor for Parshas Va'era, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining, and have a wonderful Vach.